Fuck.
She's single. No.
Then, fuck.
Today's guest is
Music.
today's guest is single. That's what it is. Today's guest is single. If you take away anything from today's episode, just know she can be found on Tinder, Bumble, Hinge, OkCupid, E-Trade. I don't fucking know. But, anyway. Today's guest, Kat Harrison, is a ceramicist, teacher, printmaker, and a good friend of mine. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Half-dead fucking minks are coming out of the ground. It's Pet Cemetery, bro. That's where we live. Hi, Kat.
That is.
Hey guys.
Yeah, we live in Pet Cemetery. What the fuck?
I'm
Yeah.
I just can't believe that. That is like the most wild shit.
I mean, I've been wanting zombie animals for a long time, so.
There we go.
Hi, Kat. Kat, you look
Can you
so
see me?
good.
Hi.
Yeah.
What did you say? I look good?
Yeah, you look good.
Oh, this whole thing? Guys, I'm so sorry. Thanks for being cool and lenient and not professional for me to not come in because I was wasted.
This is not a professional operation.
Then I'm fitting the part. No, seriously though, yesterday I went to the brewery at like 5 o'clock and the first beer I order is a 9%er and the person's like, yeah, no big deal. Like it's not something that you can chug. And all of a sudden it's gone. And I was like, sweet, no food, 9%, here we are.
I love it. This is definitely Kat. Like, if someone was like, is this Kat or an alien? And I had to, like, guess, I'd 100% be like, no, she was not abducted.
Wait, and then Saranga, you were just hanging out on the phone, like Duffy was like, yeah, Saranga's just chilling on the phone.
Wait, that was Duffy? From
That's
Alfred?
Duffy. No.
Oh, I'm thinking of a different...
Who are you thinking?
I don't know, I only know there was a dude named Duffy at Alfred.
There was? Oh.
Yeah.
No, this is my buddy. He's a neighbor. He's a brewer.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and he went over to just drop some beer off, which is nice because then they always take some money off the tab.
Nice.
Let me grab my headphones. Hold on.
Yeah.
See, I feel like that's a comfy chair. You know? Like, this shit is not... This is garbage. It's office garbage.
Yep.
What, your chair?
Yeah. It's good enough, which is the best you can have. Good enough is perfect, but comfortability-wise.
Mine's from the side of the road, my chair.
I got some wine, though, Kat.
Those are great chairs.
I got some wine too.
Hell
This
yeah.
one, this one, I can show you my chair. Honestly, it makes me feel like it completes my room. If I have to have one piece that completes my room, it's this guy.
Nice.
But you should have seen the hair that was coming out of these wheels. I couldn't roll in it. I could barely move. It was getting stuck. And then I took a razor blade to just the edge of the wheel, and there was clumps and clumps and clumps of hair. I was like, that's not mine. It's probably from the 80s.
I was gonna ask if it was yours or not.
I mean, I'm sure some of it is, but I got off the side of the road. I've never thought about checking to see why the wheels were not turning.
Oh yeah, good point. I mean, it looks like you don't have a lot of room to swivel, so...
Might have been raccoon hair.
Valid. Very valid. I do not have a lot of room to swivel.
Yeah.
Although this guy won't be with me for too much longer, so that's good.
Is that the printer that died on you, or is that the one Molly gave you?
That's the one that died. So this is the one, it's apparently 16 years old. This printer. So it doesn't even, like a car, it doesn't even have parts anymore. And when I was talking to people at Epson and told them oh, I have the Stylus Pro 7600, they were like, you what? What? They don't even make ink for that. They don't make parts for that. We're going to, you could spend $600, have someone come out and take a look and then, research to find a part, but the next thing is going to break just like a car would. So kind of unfortunate events, which maybe we'll get to in the podcast, but is this the podcast? Are we on?
We're
I
on,
honestly, I don't know. I don't hit record, so.
I started recording when it was just me and Saranga.
Oh,
Oh, nice.
nice.
I mean, it's so
Cool.
much easier to just let it go, you know?
Yeah, that's very
Yeah.
true. That's super true. Yeah.
So how was your guys' Saturday?
Saturday? I mean, Fuku, how was your Saturday?
Lazy.
It was fine. I made Japanese curry French fries because the football game was on.
Ooh.
Really
Ooh.
good. Zucchini, mushrooms, onions, obviously Japanese curry, a little bit of cheese. It's very fresh for being like 4,000 calories.
Yeah.
And I ate that by like 2 in the afternoon. And then I watched the Rams lose. And then have been drinking since 1:30. It's a good day.
Damn, who'd they play?
The Packers. I think they're going to win the Super Bowl. So, not really the worst.
Well,
loss.
Kat, are you going to be spending the Super Bowl with Steve? Because that's what I would assume.
When is the Super Bowl?
Whenever Steve tells you to come to his house, probably.
February 8th?
I feel like. Oh wait, so February 8th?
I think so.
Yeah, maybe Steve would be a great person to hang out with.
Oh,
Steve
oh
and
yeah.
Sarah.
February 8th.
Yeah.
I don't know
Although
if Steve's
they
gonna
kind of like. I think they keep it pretty. Their little football Sundays personal. Because I've asked them to hang out, and they've been like, "No, we just watch football on Sunday," and like I'm like, "Oh."
I really think that's so funny. I've asked them about it. They're like, "Oh, we watch the Ravens and Eagles games together." I'm like, "That's adorable," but like, what? Those
Yeah,
two.
that's hilarious. He probably also maybe doesn't want to explain football to you.
Do you know
It's
how many
fun.
times I've learned football?
I at least 12.
At least 12. At least 12, for sure. At least a dozen times.
Yeah.
And I might get, like, by the end of the game, I get it. One time I sat down with my dad and we watched the Giants game, and it got to, like, an obnoxious point where he was, like, mansplaining, basically, plays
Mhm.
and what it meant to, like, you know, run the ball back. Anyway, I got it at the end. I was getting like, all right, I got it. I know. And then the next time I watch, it's just relearning. It's like a bad joke that you can't even remember the punchline. But
It's okay.
I was captain of my powder puff team. Did you know that?
What? I don't even know what a powder puff is. Please elaborate.
Girls football. In my high school, we have a junior and a senior playoff game for powder puff, girls football, flag football, basically. And they have to choose a captain. So I ended up being the captain, and I didn't know how to play at all. But it was fun.
I mean, that makes perfect sense. I mean, you know, a captain just has to rally the team, and if I had to pick someone to rally a group of people, you know, you're up there.
Like, thanks, Saranga.
Well,
No, it
cheers.
was good.
Well, cheers to
What are you
that, Cat.
drinking?
Wine.
Cheers, Saranga. I got a Zinfandel here. Never usually get a Zinfandel, but
Yeah, I have a Malbec.
I like Malbecs. Not bad. I only buy wine that's on sale, so I feel like it's not as cheap, but it's still really cheap.
Yeah.
Like, never really looking forward to the very cheap wine hangovers.
Yep.
But in Pennsylvania, you can only buy 4 bottles of wine at a time, and I guess 4 bottles of wine are in the box that they have, like the Boda box.
Yeah.
So you can only buy, not that I wanted to buy more, but like if you wanted to buy, like, say, a nice bottle for an occasion, and then like the Boda box, the crappy wine for whenever you're, you know, doing a little drinking, and you can't buy more than just the Boda box.
That's a Quaker law. No, I'm so serious. That's a total Quaker law. Like, what the hell?
Yeah, it was in Whole Foods. They stopped me. I was like, oh. I swear I'm not an alcoholic.
Oh, wait, I vaguely remember that from living in Pennsylvania. I do recall something like this, where, like, I couldn't buy a certain amount of some alcohol, and I was like, what?
Yeah.
But,
I guess, I mean, it's not a bad one, but I stopped in to get wine because there was no line, and there's been a line at that liquor store every damn day, every time I pass it in Philly. So for the first time, there wasn't, and I scooted in, and then as soon as I came out, the line was like one
Oh.
in, one out. You know, they're like letting maybe
Yeah.
6 or so people in at a time. But yeah,
Yeah. Oh yeah. How are you doing with like COVID in Philly?
not good. Better than LA though.
We're not the worst
Right? Like
county anymore. Santa Barbara took
isn't
the
like
seat.
oh really?
Yeah. Our numbers are
I
still
think
terrible, but theirs are worse.
it's scary because you know what? It doesn't even it doesn't feel as scary as it did 9 months ago,
Mhm.
but it's just as bad, if not worse. And then my parents are getting vaccinated. They have their second dose because they're in the healthcare. So they have their
Mhm.
second dose in a week, and my mom was like, "I don't think that means anything, though. I don't think we can change what we're doing on the regular." And I was thinking, yeah, imagine if they allowed people who are vaccinated to not wear their mask. Then everyone's going to just be walking around without their mask on, saying that they've been vaccinated, or like letting up on the travel ban, or seeing more people. Like it's going to be everyone has to get vaccinated. It's going to be another year
Mhm.
before we all can do it. So, I mean, it sucks. I do have to say, like, I love being in the city right now though, because there's people around, and I love action. I love people. I like being where everything's happening. So it's nice to like walk out the door and see the mailman and see like the line at the liquor store. Even as much as I just complained about that, it's like there's people there.
Yeah. No, but Kat, this is actually something I really wanted to get into you with, which was I was thinking like, yeah, like I'm gonna talk to Kat, and then I was like, sweet, I'm gonna talk to Kat. Like, this is probably the most positive person I know. Like, always positive.
I
No,
don't
I'm
know. I don't know
serious.
what's wrong with me. It's it's true. I have been blessed with positivity, and I I always think that like the good is coming out of people. I spin conversations to be positive, and I'm not sure how or why I do it, but naturally it just happens. Someone actually
Yeah,
said to me, they said, you need to be careful because you always put the benefit of the doubt in people, and like you're going to get yourself killed. I was like, I never thought about it like that, but
have you come close to that happening?
um, no. And I think that's why I continue to just put my faith in people because nothing bad has really truly happened unless I'm spinning it now in a positive light. But
Maybe
like,
you're
no,
just like
it's great.
remembering it differently.
Yeah. I'm like, no, one time I got, I had to get into someone's car. No. Um, but no, I think it's more of like a blessing in a way. Like even COVID wise, this year was a big year of growth for me, and I
Hmm.
learned how to be like I'm by myself here, and I learned how to be away from my family and entertain myself, and what it means to like feel that anxious feeling and know that I need to go outside and like move my body, because if I'm not moving, then the sun's going to set, it's going to get dark, and I'm going to just be anxious or feel like towards the end of the night I feel like I need to talk and move and be active. I'm just like cooped up inside all day. So I had to learn that though,
Hmm.
because I'm used to being active. I'm used to going to classes or going to 5 different jobs and seeing 100 people a day between classes and the studio and stuff, or working at a restaurant. So it
Yeah.
was certainly a change just being here and realizing like eating good, sleeping, exercising, like you feel the impact.
Yeah, totally. And like, you're totally one of those people that is so social and is always doing a million things. And it's really cool to hear you say that this year was like one of, or last year, I guess, has been one of
Last
like,
year.
yeah, I mean, this pandemic, but like that it's been one of like positive growth for you because it looks like from talking to you and on social media, it definitely
Mhm.
looks like your business has been doing super well, or like being an artist and like teaching has been going good for you, and it looks like you're still managing to have so much fun. And
That's true.
I'm just like every time I talk to you, it's like you're in the middle of doing something fun, or you just make
Yeah.
the conversation fun. Um, so, yeah, Kat, I was wondering, Kat, could you like expand on that? Like, how do you like, what's been your whole experience like teaching through this pandemic and like being an
Yeah.
artist?
Yeah. No, I would love to because I think we had a lot of time to figure out what we wanted to do. And I've always kept one foot in teaching, one foot in art. So I just didn't have time to do the art thing. I worked for different artists. I felt like I knew what it took. I knew how to get there. Um, I needed more money, which I think it's important to have a part-time job just to like keep you scheduled and give you that income. But I wasn't making enough money, so I was subsidizing that with serving. So I was a server, but that was 4 nights out of the week. You're up late at night. You get into that, type of mindset, and there's drinking involved. And then you have, I had money, but my time was completely eaten up. And if it wasn't, then I was teaching. So that was also my first year teaching last year. Um, so you're writing a new curriculum and doing all that jazz. So what COVID gave me specifically was the time and the resources to just do the business side, the side that I always like knew I wanted to do. I knew how to do it, but I never could sit down and fully devote all my time to it. So on top of that, like I realized that people were buying art. Like people really, there's so many markets that were down, and like the economy was just bad, and restaurants, like schools, everyone seemed stressed out, and they were spending a lot of times in their homes trying to make themselves feel better. So they were purchasing art and they were supporting local people. And like I have just wonderful people in my life from all the places that I've lived, that I've stayed in contact with, like of course Alfred, but even here in Philly, my group of friends in Philly, like so supportive. And when I was able to make my work accessible to them, just putting it out online, it seemed like it was going to work. So I got asked back to the restaurant. This was about June, maybe beginning of June, end of May. And they didn't really have any protocols, like safety protocols for any of their employees, which I know a lot of places in Philly did, like, outside bins and gloves, sanitizer. There'll be 4 people on, separate bathrooms, whatever the case was. My restaurant didn't seem to have anything. So I called my boss the morning I was supposed to go in, and I said, I'm just curious. We've laminated. I spent all day yesterday laminating menus without realizing that you're supposed to have disposable menus. You're not even supposed to have laminated ones. Like, are we doing this the right way? Because you didn't say anything to your employees. And he was like, I don't. And we got pizza the night before, so like everyone was just diving into the pizza, and I was scared. I'm like, I don't, think about last May, June. It was like actually
Hmm.
really scary to be around any human.
Yeah.
So when he didn't have a good response, he was just like, I don't know what you want me to do. Like, I can't control where you and your coworkers are, like, when you're not in the restaurant. And I was like, see, that's where you could say anything else besides that. And I would come into work today at 11. But it felt like, I mean, I felt shitty because I was letting my team down, right? I'm like letting all my coworkers down. I've worked with them for a year. The first day back, we're now doing delivery and to go cocktails, and everything's going to be different. And I'm just like, you know what? I don't want to be in a restaurant. I don't need to work for somebody that is going to just not care about me and my health and take this as serious as they should. So I'm not going to come in. And he was like, fine, don't show up. Then don't come in. I'm like, oh shit. All right, I just lost my job. I'm like, oh no. Okay. So, but by then I had been making a little bit of money and getting subsidized from the government, um, because of lack of employment through the restaurant. So I was able to make it work and I wasn't scared, like I feel like I
Mhm.
lucked out with that. I didn't have this like scare factor that a lot of artists have to, come to the conclusion, can I make it without my full-time job? Can I make it without that second part-time job? For me, I'm like, "Oh, I'm not going back, so I better make it work, you know? But
Yeah. So it's more of a less of a leap of faith and more of like a matter of circumstance.
right. So after I get this call from the restaurant, or I call the restaurant and I decide I'm not going in. 3 days later, I had been in contact with a plant shop in South Philly called Pretty Green Terrariums, and they had a sign outside that they were looking for artists. So I popped in before the pandemic, gave them my contact info, and looking to sell some artwork there. And the two owners were in there with bloodshot eyes, and they're like, tweaking out. I'm like, is everything good? Is it just you guys? The store was packed. The store was super busy, a lot, like line out the door. And I said, is it just you guys in here? Are you the only two running? Are you the owners? And the two of them looked at each other and they laughed and they're like, yeah, we can you tell? And like they reached out to me and said, because I noticed that they were the only two employees, they are now able to take on another employee and they wanted to know if I could work there. So, stop that job. 3 days later, get the email to work at a plant shop where they now want to sell my planters like I've been making at the clay studio. So, everything just tumbled and worked itself out. Like they always tell you it will, and you never believe that it will.
Hmm.
It did. So, I mean, I basically was able to sell consignment through the plant shop, keep making pottery, make prints, sell that through my website so it's now accessible to everyone. Figured out the shipping, figured out the mailing, stopped working at the restaurant, continued to teach, and I'm still doing that. And here I am. But really, it worked itself out. I was shocked. I was like, how is this year kind of working out when there's so many people that are struggling? And
Hmm.
maybe that's why I'm positive as well.
Great. Yeah. I mean, I've never known you to not be positive, but um, like when you tell that story, Kat, I'm like so curious. There's you mentioned so many things, and I kind of want to unpack a little bit of all of them.
Yeah,
Um,
let's do it.
and I'm, you know, for a while, like you mentioned, like you're just like, yeah, I gotta go for it. I gotta make it, kind of like,
Hmm.
you know, with my teaching and then selling my art. I'm wondering, um, does your confidence, like, where does that confidence come from? Where you're like, yeah, I can do it. Does that have anything to do with like, working from Mali for a while, or like,
I
because
mean,
I know there's like a whole history I guess we could unpack and go into, but
yeah, the confidence with making art, are you saying?
yeah, or the confidence to be like, yeah, I'm gonna make my art, my business
Yeah,
successful, like as an artist. Because I know, like you said, a lot of artists are like, I don't know if I can make it.
right. Right. No, I feel like I mentioned in the beginning, I've always had I always kept the door open for teaching and for making art. And I never want to make a decision that I'm going to regret. So I need to try both things out. And when I moved to Philadelphia, I had already worked for an artist. I had already mopped everyone's floors. I had already done all that work, put in my time, and I was like, I don't want to do that anymore. So I came to
Mm-hmm.
Philly and I write in my journal. I keep
Mm-hmm.
a journal, and I remember writing like I'm not gonna even seek out an artist opportunity in Philadelphia. Like I only want to go for teaching. Financially, it makes sense. It's what my degree's in. That's how it's gonna play itself out. So I moved to Philly as a substitute teacher, and that gave me freedom to do half days, full days. Like you go in the morning, you pretty much pick your schedule. You can work or not work. So I was able to kind of play around with that and had time. And I passed a ceramic studio in my neighborhood in Fairmount, called the Neighborhood Potters. And as soon as I passed it, I could not help myself. I just went right in there, talked to their assistant, and I said, are you the Potter? Like, do you work here? He's like, no, Sandy and Neil are. They're great. So I just called Sandy and Neil. I called them on and left them a voicemail, and I just told them, I'm new to Philadelphia. I live 3 or 4 blocks away. If you need anything, just call me. And I called and left a message, or I called and left my number, but apparently my number cut off at the answering machine beep. I'm like, did I talk for that long on the phone? Like, did I give my whole life story that like it beeps at the end before my number? Like maybe I hung up accidentally. But Sandy, told me like a year later, oh yeah, we had to look you up because you said you were Molly Hatch's assistant. So we looked you up and we found your number online, and they reached out and they like hired me to be their assistant over tea and biscuits. I'm like, this is amazing. Like, this is the
That
cutest
is
place.
awesome.
I love the art community. I am so drawn to them. I cannot stop working for other people. So
Mhm.
like that's just how things tumble. I'm like, now I worked for Sandy and Neil. It's for 2 years. I'm still working for them. They have been such a guiding light in Philly. They gave me opportunity at the Clay Studio to take over a residence lease while he went to the Archie Bray.
Mhm.
So okay, back to your question about like building confidence. It's not even like confidence. I feel like I just say yes. Like I'm an opportunist. It's like
Mhm.
I see something and it makes sense, so I'm gonna go for it.
Mhm.
Um, and then you know, these people end up giving me the opportunities that are a stepping stone to the next thing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So did that answer your question? I think
Sort
that was
of.
a roundabout way of saying like I just go with what I feel. And when I went past the Neighborhood Potters, I was like, you know what? I didn't come to Philadelphia to be a artist. I
Mhm.
came to be a teacher. But I could mop a few more floors and just see how it goes. Because genuinely, I just want to be around good people.
Yeah.
And the ceramics world and the art world is filled with good people. So I just keep getting drawn back in. And I want to belong there. So I keep making work. And it works.
It does work. I mean, from based on like just seeing your holiday sales, and I mean you had multiple sales last year, and they
Yeah,
all
I
looked
tried to
like
do
they
one a
were
month.
selling out super fast. I know like I tried to buy some stuff and would be like, oh, I missed this one.
Oh,
Um, but you were just talking about like you just go for it, right? You just say yes. I
yeah,
feel
I
like a
keep it
lot
at
of
that.
artists have trouble sometimes doing that. Like they just have trouble following their gut, right? Like
Yeah.
sometimes it's hard to follow your intuition. Um, so like what advice would you have for anyone who's like, trying to get better at that in particular? Just taking leaps of faith, just being like, yeah, I'm gonna go for it. Like walking by somewhere and saying, I'm gonna walk in that place and just like ask for a job.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, I always think like, what would people be afraid of? What would the Neighborhood Potters, what would Sandy and Neil say if I went in there and said, let me know if you need any help? Like, like what would the worst thing would maybe be like, no, no, we're good. We already have 2 assistants, but I'll let you know if we ever do need anyone. So maybe think about that. Just like I do say that to my friends. What's the worst that's gonna happen? I
mhm,
mean, you of course you never know. You never know if it's exactly what you want. Like I thought I wanted to only be a teacher. Life takes its course. You do things and you figure it out along the way. Like just do things. Actually, that was my dad's advice. He's like, doesn't matter what you do, just do things. Like watch movies, paint pictures, do things. And
mhm,
you'll learn your interests, you'll learn what you want to do, you'll kind of find your spot. And I don't want to come off feeling like or sounding like I have it all figured out because, every day I freak out too. I don't think my work is good enough or if it's exactly where I want to be.
mhm.
Doing those custom prints and stuff. They're great and they're great practice, but and they're good like financially. I know that I will get money from doing those, but
Mhm.
would I want to do that forever? No. So if you're going to shift, you have to shift somehow, and you shift by doing. So I would just say, think, what's the worst that's going to happen? If you enjoy it, keep going. If you don't, right? So this is the fun factor. If you don't like it, just stop. Like it's okay. You know, if I'm making these cylinder planters and I'm like, man, I could really work on my form. Or, I visited some potters in Massachusetts and I was looking at their pots. I'm like, wow, how dare I even sell mine? My every single one that I make is a second. Like that's like my thought as I'm looking at their amazing pieces, right? So
And just to be clear, so for people who
yeah,
don't, are you talking about Molly's studio in particular,
Molly
or
Hatch.
yeah, or
So
like,
this was
wait,
when I
yeah,
went
for
to go.
people who don't, yeah, for people who don't know, could you elaborate on who Molly is? Like, I guess who
Hmm.
Molly is and who Molly is to you?
Yeah, should I do? Does anyone know who I am?
They will.
Okay. So that just crossed my mind. I'm like, I don't even know when this podcast started. Um,
It started
yeah.
at
So
1:30 when Fuku was starting his first drink.
amazing. Um, okay. So, well, I'm Kat. I don't know if that matters, but I worked for an artist. Yeah. So I went to school with Saranga, went to Alfred, and then after Alfred, went and worked for an artist named Molly Hatch, and she is out in Northampton, Massachusetts, well, a surrounding town, Florence. And she's an incredible woman. She is such a go-getter, and she is total businesswoman. And she taught me everything about um, like financing, how to do your taxes, like signing liability things with galleries, wholesaling, web design, marketing yourself. Like the amount of things that I learned from Molly is incredible. And of course, I didn't know at the time, right? I'm just going in, doing my daily routines with her. And um, now I laugh because my work, she does 2D and 3D work. And now she kind of has her own brand name, Molly Hatch. She also sells through a gallery in New York City and has like big plate installations. But yeah, my work is very 2D and 3D. And I also just got a projector for Christmas, and Molly used to project images onto ceramic plates and paint them. So I'm right now projecting an image onto a barn door to paint with, or a barn glass window. And I'm actually going to paint a portrait of Joanna, which will be fun. She
That'll
doesn't
be
know that
fun.
yet, though. But yeah, so like just using just similar styles and techniques and like the technology she used, it's just kind of coming out of me, and I don't know where it's coming from, but I know a lot of it comes down to her. She's been a big influence on my life.
Yeah.
Um, and just learning. I mean, in Alfred, they didn't teach you about the business side. You have to kind of,
Mm.
you have to figure it out. So she was a good mentor for sure.
Yeah. What were some of the best things you think you left Alfred with, and what are some of the things you feel like you just mentioned the business side that you were just like, yeah, like
Hmm.
I could have definitely used that.
Yeah, no, I could have used the
Because
business of art.
Alfred, it was great in so many ways.
Yeah. No, Alfred is amazing, and I hope that it is still as charming. I know that a lot of things has changed there. Um, but we really lucked out. Like Pollywog Holler was awesome, and just the people. Okay, so first I always think how lucky I am to know the people from Alfred. Just amazing, all of them, and everyone. The way I describe Alfred is like it's a one street. By the second year, you know if you want to be there or not. By the fourth year, you know every single person there, their first name, their last name, you know their mom, and you either love it or you hate it. But if you hate it, you probably left. So, and you love it, and like you're in this little
True.
bubble. Um, so I feel like I lucked out with the people from Alfred. Um, you being one of them. And
Appreciate that.
yeah, and then, like I'm still using my degrees, my education minor, art history minor, and then of course ceramics. So I applied to grad school and I reached out to Wayne Higby to write my letter of recommendation, and of course it just brings me back, and it's like so awesome. Like we're so lucky to learn from those professors. And they pop up like being at the clay studio. I feel, I'm not a resident. I'm just an associate artist, but I feel like I rolled with the big dogs over at Alfred,
Yeah.
and learned a lot and I'm like really knowledgeable in ceramics more than I thought I would be, because you're surrounded by all the ceramicists there for 4 years, and then you leave and then you realize all that you've gained.
Hmm.
Um yeah, so people, and then of course my ceramics. What else did I get from Alfred? Do I need one more, really?
Only you really know.
um I don't know. Great times, can we say that?
We could definitely say great times. I mean, you
Alfred
already
was
mentioned
the
Polywog.
Yeah, Pollywog was great. I mean, Alfred just really was a great time.
Yeah. And for those of
Looking
you who
at
are like, what the hell is Polywog? It's just somewhere in the woods that we went and got wood-fired pizza and got drunk. That's
Yeah,
pretty much what Polywog is. Um,
it was like a family that had a restaurant and a swampland and just let us all go and eat pizza, and you bring your own wine, and they had a
yep.
dock and beautiful trails, and you go on a full moon night, they had a stage, they would always have live music, and we would just drive there and have, I mean, it was great.
Yeah, it was
It
good.
was great.
Yeah, it was really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you also got your 2D stuff kind of worked out there, right? Some of your first commercial stuff, the paint chips. Oh yeah, wait, how come we haven't talked about the paint chips?
Oh, I don't know. You want to, here, let me go get my binder of them. Um, I know, people listening won't be able to see, but this is every paint chip that I've ever scanned in from my beginning of my show to artists that I've collaborated with in Milan. Um, Haley, I have a bunch of Haley's paint chips in here. And then, you keep going, and then you get to where I'm at now, which is still paint off of glass, but more of a like distinct style. Can you see that at all? Probably not.
I
But
could I could see it.
yeah. But no, like this is just my binder, like little figurines of everything I've ever made, which is really fun to flip through, because to me they all kind of hold a different story, and each they're in baseball card binders, and each one is like its own mini moment, I guess you could call it. Um,
Yeah, where'd you first get the idea for paint chips?
you ready for the story?
I
So
don't even think I know it. So
okay, so which makes me laugh, because I'm like, the amount of times I feel like I've told this story to people. That's the reason my Instagram, it's a paint chip, because people would just constantly ask, "What is this? Like what am I looking at?" I'm like, "It's a paint chip." And then they're like, "What's that?" So, the story behind it's a paint chip. Um it was senior year, Joe Shear's class. And if you remember, Joe Shear did the
the moths.
high resolution scans of moths. Exactly. So one of our first assignments was find something that intrigues you. I'm like, all right, another like hoity-toity art assignment. Here we go. So we're going in and finding something that intrigues me. I'm scanning nails. I'm scanning like balls of yarn. And then I passed the um, painting hallway where there was a bunch of old painter palettes. Actually, I have one here, but a bunch of old painter palettes that were in the hallway. So I took one and I brought it up to the fifth floor and I scan it. And when I pulled the glass off, one of the chunks got stuck to the glass. So then I took a piece of paper, covered up that chunk, and then just did a high resolution scan. And it popped up on this MacBook, like the 20-inch, 24-inch MacBook screens, whatever they had there. And it was like a completely different world. And I loved that paint chip. It was my first one. It was blue, yellows, pinks. It was like deep crevices, super textured. It was porous in some areas. It was just crazy. And you could zoom in because the scan, I feel like I haven't taken a scan that has been this perfect. It was like the background, you could see all the pulp from the paper. It was great. So
Yeah,
that popped
super
up.
visceral.
Yeah, I was just hooked from there. So then, I printed out one or two, maybe three for my critique that week, and Joe Scheer looked at them and was like, "Yeah, this is really cool." And I always kind of felt guilty because it was so his style, the plain white, the plain background with that like intense or like just
Yeah,
blob in the middle of something
the
super
depth.
textured, super bright. Yeah. Um so anyways, he was like, "Yeah, this is great." And I always wanted to have a show. I was told Will was my advisor, and Will Contino was like, "If you want to have some experience, you should have a show at the Turner Gallery. Like, just apply as a student. It looks good. It's good experience." So I decided to just take the paint chips and do a huge show. Collaborated with Brielle, and the two of us, had a show in November. So it was about 3 months in. So once I did that, I had now a collection of maybe 24 different large format um, prints of these paint chips. And I remember the grad students were coming in and couldn't tell if it was ceramics or if it was paint. And now my two mediums were colliding together, and I was super excited about it. And then I wanted to make a ceramic paint chip. So once one of the grad students said that, I was like, you know what? I really need to try to do this. And that's when I applied for the undergraduate research grant. And I tried to 3D scan the actual paint chip, the first one that I put into the computer. And go figure, very Alfred, the end result of my research grant was that we just needed a better scanner. Because it was, and I remember calling the guy who gave me the grant, and I'm like, "I can't go through with this. I can't make this out of ceramics. I did global remesh and everything is just not working out." And he was like, "You have such an artistic mind. In the science world, this is the point of doing experiments. Like, sometimes they fail, but you learn something." And what we learned was we got to upgrade some of our technology.
And granted, like we were definitely at Alfred at the time where the tech was just kind of coming in.
Yeah.
Like we were like probably like the first people to be getting all the like CNCs, the 3D printers, and when 3D
Right.
printing
And
with clay was becoming popular,
yeah,
like
uh, David Crenshaw, right?
Dave and Keith, yeah,
Yep.
Dave Crenshaw and Keith.
They ate it up. They were like, "Oh, you are presenting on how our scanners need to be better quality. Here, this is
Oh,
exactly what we
Dave
need."
loves
They were
that.
pumped. Yeah,
Yeah,
they were
it's hard
pumped
to
about
get
it.
Dave on your side, but if he
Mm,
likes you,
yeah.
yeah.
So that was kind of the start of the paint chips, and then I kept going with it and used it for my senior show, and it just one thing spiraled. But what's really cool is to look at how my work now and what I'm intrigued by, and even photos that I take, like
Hmm.
they are so similar in um like quality, right? Not quality, but like between the textures, the bright, like super um like colors that correspond really well together. Like everything just meshes into this one bubble that is paint chips, really. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I can see why I'm so drawn to them, and I can see why my work has gotten to where it is now, and why I'm still drawn to them.
Hmm.
Everything works out, and I especially learned that after doing my grad portfolio.
Right. Oh, yeah. Wait, do you want to talk about that a little?
Sure. Like RIT or just grad in general?
Well, I know you're doing the grad portfolio now.
Yeah. So I one of the main reasons for me going back to school, I would have almost completely crossed it off my list just because I really believe that working for people and going and being in the environment can really benefit you as an artist. And, like working for Molly and I worked for Potter Tiffany Hilton, like working for these people really expand my knowledge almost more than school ever did. So I kind of cross off my list, except for the fact that to get your initial or your professional teaching certification in New York State, you are required to get your master's in either art education, art therapy, art history, or your MFA. So if I were to get my MFA, which I looked into, um, it would normally be at least a 2-year program. And it would be great, but I also don't want to teach college um, at this moment. My real, like the real competitors are in high school art or middle school art teachers where I've applied to. And one of my dream jobs came up, a part-time ceramic and digital art teacher popped up at a school right in New Jersey, about 20 minutes from my home here. And I was like, wait a minute, the competition, even though I feel like I would be a great candidate, the competition and everyone else's like credentials are just so much higher. And that was when I realized like I need to go get my professional. So I chose Rochester, and it's the only school that I applied to, for better or for worse. I mean, I know it's good to have a backup, but again, my confidence probably speaking here, but I feel really good about it. And they have a 1-year program, Masters of Science in Teaching, the MST, and they have a ceramics program that's run by Peter Pincus, who works with saturated slip and molds. So I was saying I really want to work on my form. I really like my ceramic forms. I really like working with slip. I think that works well with my painting practice and all of that. So working under him would be great. And then I would also learn how to teach in a rural setting and like teach to special needs and learn how to write a curriculum. Like there's so many things that I hesitate doing despite the confidence, like going into a real public school setting. I just don't feel like I'm ready.
Mm-hmm.
So I needed a push. And I was always told when you don't know what to do and you need a push, sometimes grad school is a good way to like up your credentials. And we'll see. I mean, it feels like the right choice. It's just weird because we're in a pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
You
Right.
know, like who goes to grad school in the middle of a pandemic? But someone who's just sitting in their room anyway. That's who.
um, Kat, like I'm curious
Stranga.
where 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 that like real passion for like teaching come from, because
Oh my god.
you you love working with ceramics, you love painting, and
Yeah.
I vaguely recall that you were also doing the teaching when we were at Alfred, but
Yeah.
I didn't know you were so into it, honestly.
No, I have always loved my teachers. I I mean, this is gonna be funny too. So I've always loved my art teachers and all my teachers in general. I always wanted to like make them proud and I just adored them. So my mom always thought that I was gonna be a teacher. But my reading level is shot. It is just not. I no really. I feel like I just my reading comprehension level is not good. And I remember going to a tutor and getting really frustrated and working really hard. I went to a private school like just to learn reading. And the first book we had to read that summer was like the Greek mythology textbook. And it was awful. I just, it's never been my strong suit. So art though, I've always been a little artist, I would like to think. Um, so I have a story for being a little artist after this, but I went into my high school teacher's room one day and he was in a really bad mood and I was poking fun at him and said, oh, it must be so hard to be the art teacher. Like, oh, come on, what do you have to do, really? And he was like, no, it's a challenge. Like, it's still teaching. And I'm like, oh, come on, can't be that bad. I'm gonna go be the art teacher. I'm gonna be an art teacher. And he looked at me and he's like, no, actually, you'll be a fantastic art teacher. So I went home, said it to my mom at dinner, like, oh, maybe I'd be an art teacher. And it was just like, yep, that's what we're doing. Yep, teaching, art, she's in, we're doing it. So, whenever I loved ceramics in high school, and whenever you typed in ceramic and like art education, Alfred came up. So she kept saying, the school, Alfred. I'm like, I don't know, sounds weird, never heard of it. I go into my art teacher, ask him if he's ever heard of Alfred. He smiles, looks at me, and says, I went to Alfred. And I was like, oh my God. And I went and visited it, and that was it. I was like, you know what? It's perfect. So, the reason I became an art teacher is kind of a funny, sarcastic story, which might lead to my personality a little bit there. But I have always loved my teachers, and I have always loved art. So I also like to be financially stable, and that gives me a lot of sanity. So I knew that I wanted to have something, make my mom proud too, right? So just kind of worked out. But had I changed my path or changed my plan, I come from very supportive parents, and I'm fortunate, and they would have, and I think now they can see that I would do whatever I want.
Hmm.
So lucky for me and lucky for them, I want to be an art teacher.
Yeah, and I think knowing you, you're probably already a great art teacher,
Thanks.
at your current job,
I like
and
to think
I
so.
can only
It's
imagine you
fun.
getting better after going to RIT.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, there's a lot. Like, I don't really know. Um, like, painting and drawing are really my weakness. I can do it. Like, I paint here, but I don't know how to teach it, really. I could YouTube, right? How fake it till you make it, I guess. But I want to really learn. And that's always held me back from doing, like, middle school art, even. That's the basics. They're not really getting on the wheel in middle school. Some are, but a lot of it's painting or drawing and drawing from observation. And I genuinely have to work on that so much myself that it's a fear to go into a classroom and pretend like I know what I'm doing. When I know a
mhm,
student will outshine, not that that's a fear, students should outshine you at times, but you want to be able to give them criticism and feedback and see their growth and not just be like faking it. I don't want to fake it. I want to know it and I want to teach it.
yeah, that's
Um,
super admirable.
yeah. So but that being said, I dream of still being a part-time. There's something called like a point six teacher where you might work from start of school 7 to 11 or lunch period or something. So you're not a full-time teacher, and that gives you a lot of time to do your studio work. So
Hmm.
in my ideal world is still part-time teaching studio work. So just constantly having my foot in two doors because it fuels me being with
Right.
people and then also being creative.
Yeah.
Really important.
How do you find that balance right now?
Force. I have to teach every day. um yeah, so I mean, I again, we can mention Molly Hatch. I looked at her studio practice where she did 2D in the morning and 3D in the afternoon. Um and now I catch myself in the mornings. I like wake up, do everything 2D, all my like clean work. Um, I might paint, I might print, depending on what stage I'm at in the process. And then I go to school. So I teach from like 12:30 until 2:30. So it's about 2 hours in the afternoon. And I'm already in my car. So on the way home, I just go to the clay studio and I work there. And, like I'm single, so I'm not stressed for time or no one's relying on me to cook dinner, which is a definite perk. But I feel like I have somehow figured out how to do this with my schedule and feels really freeing. And timing wise, like I feel like I know like the ceramic materials so well, and you figure out how to do the easiest methods of shipping, and you just kind of do what to do. Like I'm a huge to-do lister, and create a to-do list and just cross it off as you go. So I need to be productive. It's the only thing that keeps me sane. Like feeling like I have a purpose.
Mm.
And making art is definitely giving me a purpose, making sure people get their custom orders, their prints like in time for Christmas, but then also going in to a classroom and having like 30 people literally need me to stand there and host a party. Like
Which,
I have
they really
to.
couldn't ask for a better person to come host a party. So,
I realized that a lot of them follow me on Instagram and it's cute, but I was like, I think it's okay, but maybe it's weird. I don't know. To have your students follow, like it's my art account, so I feel like they
right.
should. But they see me, painting at 12:10 and then I'm in their classroom teaching at 12:30. So I'm like, wait, do they I play. You see my Instagram. I just play all the time. So I don't want them to take my classes less serious because they're following my Instagram where I'm very much myself
Yeah.
in on all platforms, in person, on Instagram, in my classroom, like
Yeah.
but
And that's something I really, I can say I really appreciate about your social media account is they're genuinely you. Like I've never been like I would never have to say to someone, that's just not how Cat is. Like, like I would
couple typos here and there.
I'd be like, yeah, that's 100%. Like Cat is always like 100% coming through as Cat. So,
That's
um
amazing. That's a huge compliment to me because Instagram did not always come easy. And I mean, I had a lot of anxiety in 2017 about Instagram. And I was thinking, like, what's the point? But also, I knew how important it was. And that's how you share. So I'm like, all right, how do we judge and share and get our work out there and not come off as pompous or not make other people jealous? Like, that's not the attempt. Like, how do you do that in a really genuine way? And I wrote about it and, um, I guess I was traveling, so I started to just post my travels and people had a good response to that. And then once I came home, I started doing more of my like art stuff, and people who were following my travels started following my art. And I mean, I think about it too in like the grand scheme of things, all the stuff that's happening this year. Um, like I'm definitely dove into politics this year and learned a lot, but I don't post about it on my art account. And I at sometimes I feel guilty about that because you should take a stance, and I do on my personal account. But when it comes to art, I'm like, they are gonna like. There's something about things being regular this year that was really nice. Like I was following accounts that were keeping a regular routine and posting regularly. And it was nice to just not always be bombarded with the fact that 2020 has been a shit show and every day there's a different headline and a new meme and something to keep up with. It's like me, at least, and from other people that I've heard, like it's good to just maintain regularity and to some regards, you know?
mhm.
Um, so it's it's part of the game now. It's really weird to say. And it's even shifting to like more of the game with having shops and stuff on Instagram.
Yeah.
But it's something I learned. You come in and you have to post something.
Yeah. How do you like handle all the marketing stuff for your art practice? Because I know a lot of artists really struggle with marketing.
Yeah. Someone once told me if you are just in your studio, you'll have something to post. If you were doing something, if you were doing a thing, you could just share it, let people know what your process is. Like you don't have to really fake that if you are actually doing it. So I think what I learned is just like have fun with it. And what did I put up? Oh, I for my ceramics account, I started doing time lapse videos, which were basically just fun for me to rewatch. And when I was making chess pieces, I was able to use the camera as the mirror to see like what the piece actually looked like. So that was like both a tool and had a really cool result.
Mhm.
I like music. I love putting music to my stuff. I like sharing. So I was doing those, and then my art account, my paint chip account, I feel like if I was in my studio, I would just share a little bit of my process. So now I'm doing some paint chip weaving where I'm layering paint on a glass and then I'm gonna scrape it, cut it, and weave it together and have kind of like a checkerboard pattern, which again goes in hand with my ceramic work. Um, and I've only done step one, and right now without my window drying. So maybe tomorrow I'll like videotape the process of step two. And reels are super easy. You just take little snippet videos along the way. Then you can just collage it into a reel at the end. It takes like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Um, but really, it's just sharing. And I love sharing. It's
Right.
what I do.
Well,
It's like I love
well,
teaching. So,
yeah, yeah. But what would you say to someone who like struggles to share, right? Like they're just like very
yeah.
nervous or they just get anxiety? Because we all know people like that, right? They're like, I want to be doing this thing, but then they hit that
Yeah.
roadblock, their resistance.
I mean, they would just have a different voice than I would. Pick one photo and just share that one photo on Mondays, once a week. You don't need to constantly be talking. And in fact, I love people that are quieter. Um, it's just it just depends like how active you want to be and who you're engaging with and what audience you're trying to capture. Like everyone is going to be different. Um, and of course, if you're talking about marketing or starting your website, like you want to pick a color, you want to pick your certain font, you want to keep it uniform. It shouldn't just look like a third party every time you're posting. It shouldn't look like it's coming from 7 different people. So keep it concise, keep it consistent. But just the more you post or the more you share, the more you market, the more you make, your voice is gonna come through no matter what. And I tell my students that too. Every project you see what they're drawn to, what colors they like, what brand, like you're branding yourself as an artist now. Um, so just pick something, stick with it, and don't put too much pressure on yourself. Because, hey, I took like a year off from making, and it didn't matter at all, you know?
Yeah, I think that's great advice. Like I love the Kat Harrison branding 101 lesson we just got. Um,
Thanks, Ranga.
no, it I think everything you said is very um it's just very relatable and very, I want to say easy to implement, but I know maybe that's not
Mm,
true for everyone.
yeah,
Because there's definitely, everyone has their own hurdle. But
yeah,
you
certainly.
know,
And
it's definitely good advice, especially to hear from like a teacher.
yeah, it's just, I think we put a lot of pressure on ourselves to make things perfect or get a certain amount of likes. And really, no one wants you to fail. No one's not supporting you. I mean, at least I hope not. I hope not. But you have a voice, you have a skill. Use it, share it, enjoy it, but you don't need to be afraid of it
Mhm.
or intimidated. And guess what? You can always delete it. I have been deleting Instagrams left and right. Like if I post something on my story, I think I shared it to my close friends list. Like, um, I delete posts because my other personalities don't like them. And like
Oh
that's
yeah.
true. I go back in and I'm like, wait, what? What did I post? Who was I this morning? And like just delete it. Nobody cares. I mean, oh my God. Oh, somebody saw it. They're gonna know I deleted it. Yeah. and then they're gonna forget 2 seconds later. So I don't know. I just think it's fun, and I have people um, who are not artists that are just such great supports, and they, love following what I'm doing because it's a world that they don't know of. We're fortunate because we know so many creative people, so we share the same brain as them. But when I say like I scrape paint off of glass, that does not register in a lot of people's brains.
Right, it doesn't
I'm like,
translate.
I scrape layers of paint and then I scan it and I bring it into Photoshop and I print it on watercolor paper. They're like, wait, why? I'm like, I don't know. I just do. So, sharing your process is important because people want to connect with you. We all want to just like connect, and makes for a better world connecting.
Yeah, no, I agree. Connecting definitely makes for a better world.
Hmm.
Definitely more fun.
More fun. I'm all about fun for this
Yeah,
year, especially.
that's why we were like, who we're gonna have on as our first guest. I mean, sorry, Max, but
Sorry, Max.
we were like, we're gonna have to get someone fun. So we were like, oh, we gotta get Kat.
Hell yeah. Well, yeah, no, I'm happy to be here. You guys are awesome.
Um, yeah, Kat. You mentioned this a few times, but we didn't really touch on it. And this is something else I think a lot of people could totally relate to, which is you mentioned guilt a couple times,
Mm,
and how you're like, yeah, like I felt kind of guilty when I did the paint chips, and I was like, oh, it's like Joe's work, or
yeah.
you mentioned a few other times, but like, how do you deal with that feeling of guilt? And
Oh, it
like, do you
sucks.
have any advice for people to to get over it, or to kind of
I don't.
deal with it in a way that doesn't just stop them completely from making or creating or putting stuff out there, whatever it is that they got to do?
Yeah, so here's what I learned about negative emotions because guilt and jealousy were two emotions that I really needed to get over. But what I learned was it's not really getting over them, it's like learning why you have them and what they mean to you. So, guilt is like, why do you feel guilty? Why do you feel like what you're doing is wrong? And either fix it, change it, or kind of peel those layers apart and realize why maybe you're not wrong. Or maybe you need to change something to make it feel like you're not. Like for me with Joe Shear, like I felt guilty because I was learning under this, artist, and my work was very similar to his. But hey, he was my professor. He taught me everything that I knew. He was the one that encouraged me to keep going. And I really liked his work. So, like, he was an inspiration to me, which, if you look at someone and you're like, hey, you're an inspiration, they're like, oh, yeah, no, I can definitely see that in your work. They're not like, whoa, you totally stole my idea. And, like, he's already a successful artist. The, all like, you want to share. So, if you break it down, you realize, like, that's not actually something that would be worth the guilt feeling. Um, Another thing I felt guilty about was taking other people's paint chips and calling them mine. So it was like reappropriating these other artists and their painter scraps and enlarging it. And it's so simple. And they had the technology and the sources to do the exact same thing that I did. And here I am going up to the second floor, scraping these artists' painting, not paintings, but the floor, and like taking Haley's and taking Ripley's and taking Austin's and just scanning them, which was like really a simple process, and calling it mine. And I remember being like, I don't know if it actually feels mine, and it was just because like I wasn't educated on the topic of, I don't know, like reappropriating or even copyright stealing. Like I didn't know what it meant, and really I wasn't taking, I was completely changing an insignificant object to them and highlighting it. And it took conversation to figure that out. So the guilt kind of goes away once you peel away some of those layers of like why you have this emotion. Um, and I guess touching upon jealousy, like jealousy is just you want that, you know? You want what they don't have. You want to get, right? Think about your New Year's goals and resolutions. If you put people you're jealous of, so like I love the look of or the build of like strong looking women, right? So at one point I was in Milan and all of these women were just like really fit, cute, beautiful Italian women sitting down with their giant pizzas in front of them. And I'm like, how are they doing it? I'm so jealous. They're just like eating such like ginormous pizzas and they're just like have the most like strong women bodies. And I just kind of flipped it and was like, that's instead of being like upset about it, well, I should probably stop eating, the like chocolate croissants over here and start shifting and pick up rollerblading. How about that? Then I can maybe become that strong woman. So it's just shifting your mind instead of thinking it as a negative emotion. It's telling you to read it a certain way. So you need to spin it and then you don't feel so bad about it.
Yeah. Wait, Cal, how did you get so good at reframing your thinking? Because that's something that does not come
Writing.
naturally to people.
Writing a lot, like in my journals. And my journals are so embarrassing. What I scribble, my like initial thoughts in the morning, what I freak out about. I'm like, if my great grandchildren were to look back on like this year and, say January 6th, they want to look back on, like what happened at the Capitol. They're going to see me blabbing about something completely irrelevant, about something that freaked me out that day. I'm like, what an embarrassing journal to have, literally. It's like doesn't touch upon anything. It's like so personal. It's like love stories, it's jealousy, it's anger, and it's like me just writing down these thoughts, but like sorting through. And guess what? Usually when I stop writing, that's when I write my to-do list, whether it's in that day or what I have to do tomorrow. And it's like, what can I do to make myself feel better? Okay, I feel like I'm not active with ceramics. First thing, I want to post something on my Instagram in ceramics. Okay, I have been feeling guilty because I didn't get that thing out in the mail, right? Mail shipping is like automatic every day. You want to be shipping something. I'm like, all right, I didn't ship that out. I'm going to send them the email, get that in the mail tomorrow. Then I'll feel better. So it's like you just kind of get rid of these negative things. And I'll just say writing. Long story short, process, and everyone processes it differently. I talk a lot. I have a army of people I can call on speed dial. Normally, at least 5 of them know every one of my problems in detail. And then I write about it, and it helps me learn about myself and how to fix it.
No, that's awesome. Kat, thanks for sharing that. And giving such a really, no, you just gave such a detailed answer and just an answer you literally could follow from beginning to end that is anyone could follow.
Yeah.
And so I appreciate that. And I'm sure people listening, if it'll reach the right ears or whoever needs to hear that, I think it'll help,
Yeah.
So thanks for
I hope
sharing
so.
that. Yeah.
I mean,
Kat,
that's
do you
why
have
we do
any?
these, right?
Yeah, right. Do you have any other like routines or habits that you like definitely feel like have helped you and like you think could help other people that, or do you have like some non-negotiable habits or routines that you're like, yeah, I have to do this for my sanity or my well-being or my practice kind of thing?
Yeah, so I said I write and I talk to a lot of people. I learned that I need to move my body. Like I had no idea, like to a shocking amount. how badly it feels to be cooped up inside and not be active. I had no idea. I mean, I played sports my whole life, always had a bunch of jobs, um, never had to think about it ever until you're stagnant in one place. And um, now I pay for a yoga subscription to Down Dog, and they're really awesome.
Oh wait, I do that too.
Um, yeah,
Yeah, it's good.
they're really great. They gave me 6 months free. I didn't subscribe to the app, and then I got an email like, we're trying to make this accessible to everyone. What is do you have any reason? And I just told them like I started investing in my retirement, and I was like, I'm not gonna get,
Wait,
whatever.
that's so funny. Similar thing is I emailed them and just said, yeah, I'm trying to pay off my student loans this year, and they
Yeah,
just gave me the year for free, and I was like, oh,
yeah.
sweet.
No,
Yeah.
exactly. And I'm like, I wasn't lying. That's exactly what I was doing. I just couldn't spend $60 on a yoga subscription. And
Yeah.
then they gave it to me. And now my insurance literally went down $60 this year. I'm like, now I can buy the subscription. And it's part of my health insurance, it feels. So, yeah, so I do that. I wouldn't say I do it religiously, but like 3 times a week.
Hmm.
I love going on walks. I love having a baseball catch if I can find someone to throw with. That's my favorite. And then I rollerblade. So between those activities, like I am usually going. Um, I have to be productive, and I love eating right. Like I didn't realize, but I'm a really like pretty clean eater. And I get a veggie box, which I know you're a fan of. So just like cooking and eating a lot of vegetables has helped me. Yeah. And there are definitely times where if I don't talk to one, like the core group, like my core people, something feels like it's off. And I'm like, what is it? I don't know. And I'm missing like the connecting factor. Like I
Hmm.
really need to connect with people. And, like as I mentioned, like I don't have a partner. So I rely heavily on all my friends and my family. And they seem to be okay with it. Right, Sarah?
Yeah, we're okay with it.
Yeah. No, and it's just that's why I'm so active on Instagram as well. Like I love connecting and people
That's
respond.
true. I mean, I that's how we reconnected, I think, is through
Yeah.
your Instagram.
Yeah, probably. Because like
Yeah.
when you're yourself, people feel like they can also respond back and be like say whatever they want, which is how I want every person to be themselves around every person, not just me, but like be yourself around every person that you know if you can. Your students, your professors, your boss, your coworkers, your friends, your parents, like just find out who you want to be and be that with everyone. Maybe
No,
harder
that's a great
thought
answer.
than
I
said.
was I had a question here, but I think you literally just answered it.
Mm, what is it?
So
What
I
was it?
think you answered. It was, you know, what's one thing you really want people to take away from today's conversation?
Oh, to be genuine. That would be a good answer. Um, just find out what makes you feel the best. And it takes time and don't put a lot of pressure on it, right? You can't just be like, oh, I'm gonna drink lemon water every morning and be amazing. Like, it doesn't take one hobby, one activity. I can't, I mean, again, I'm not a professional in this at all. It's like I learn every day and struggle regularly about what I want to do and who I want to be and who I'm trying to attract in this world and what type of friends are who I want my friends to be and who the type of people I want to surround myself with. But I, would never object to an opportunity to learn something new. Or if someone recommended a podcast or a movie, like give it a shot. What do you got to lose? Um, and hopefully it'll lead you to understanding something about yourself or not. But the worst is when, you feel trapped and you feel like you're doing something wrong, like you're not. Just learn from it. It's been the whole hubbub about like Black Lives Matter is a good one. There's a lot of pressure to like learn during that, and you should learn and grow and let people correct you and understand where they're coming from, listen, teach, but just like continue to educate yourself and learn where you come from and what you believe, where you stand. So, and that goes into art, right?
Yeah, totally. This process of constantly learning
Yeah, because once you know
and
who you are, you'll
reiterating.
make yeah. Once you know who you are, you'll make genuine work.
Yeah. No, that was really, really fantastic answer, Kat. And again, detailed and just as you said, like you're just I just really appreciate that you really embody what you say. You literally are like one of the most genuine people I personally know.
Oh,
So, for you to
you're
just
too good to me, Saranga.
I mean, we're friends, we try to be good to each other. Like I know it's like how you said, like, I you have your core friends that you can call whenever, and it's like I know, like, I have a similar thing, and like I would include you in that for sure.
Yeah.
So, you know.
Yeah, we were literally watching a movie last night. You were silent on my cell phone. And then you speak
Right.
up. I'm like, wow, I forgot you were there. Like, like forgot.
Yeah.
That's
No, but
great.
I really no, I totally appreciate you like coming on here and just like being yourself, and I think that's just very refreshing and empowering for other people.
Yeah. Well,
Uh,
I appreciate you. I appreciate DEMOblank. I think it's really exciting. You guys are starting this back up, and hopefully it runs smoothly, and a bunch of people just you know continue to grow and learn through you guys. I mean, it's awesome. That's
Thanks,
empowering
Kat.
to me. I would love to come out and see what you guys are doing out in LA too.
Uh, right now, just this, but we're definitely planning stuff for the post pandemic, post getting the vaccine life,
Yeah,
whenever
looking
that is.
forward to
But
it.
yeah, we're looking forward to it because we just miss, like we're all pretty social, so we miss connecting with people in that capacity.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Well, we're doing what we can around here, so we'll
yeah,
just keep lifting each other up and making it through until we see the light at the end of the tunnel, which I
yeah,
can kind of see it. It's like a glimpse.
yeah, definitely. So before
Cool.
we sign off here, Kat, I just have two questions for you,
All right,
and
let's hear
they
it.
won't be super intense, I promise.
Okay, let's
Okay,
hear
if
it.
you could curate one exhibition at the end of your life, who would be in it?
Whoa.
I guess that
You
was intense.
mean, yeah, that's an intense one. Who would be in it? Um, Meaning like their work, or could it be?
Could be whatever you want.
So I would want to include at the end of my life. So what if it was like a memorial for it's the art show of the end of my life?
Yeah, it's the art show for the end of
And
your life. It's the art show of whatever you want. The art show of everything Kat wants people to see at the end.
wow, that's crazy. Imagine if it was just like their favorite video or photo of me, like at the end of my life, and I just get to walk through and see a bunch of memories from like 100 people that I loved. I'm picturing me like crippled with gray, like long gray hair, and like someone's walking me through, and I'm just like laughing at this picture of me that like Sammy Case puts up of like me with a 40 in our like college dorm room or something. No, I think that would be good. But you know, I know 40 people off the top of my head that would be willing to put something into an exhibition. Um, and then maybe it would be their what if we said their most genuine self, like something that reflects their most genuine being, and it was 40 of my closest friends and family members. That would be pretty cool. And I would love to see what they put, because I would wonder if I would, learn anything from them. That's a tough one though, Saranga.
Yeah, I'm sorry. That was harder than I realized. After I said it, I was like, oh.
Yeah, good question. No, but
Yeah.
I mean, if I could curate a show with 4,200 of my closest people and have everyone in one room all together, like, what a goodbye party that would be, huh? It'd be so fun.
It'd be a fun party, that's for sure.
Yeah.
It'd be a very fun party. I know what I would put in your. If I was invited, I know what I would definitely contribute to that.
Is it appropriate to say?
Yeah, totally.
What is it?
I would have to find it, but I think it's lost. It's like a
Make it
video.
better.
No, it's not. It's not that bad. No, it's like that video. It's like a video of us, when we had mortars in Alfred, and we shot one out of the window of the joint, and you could hear Joanna in the background screaming, "Oh my God!" And then we ran out of the house, and we ran into the creek and started running up the hill because the cops were coming.
I remember that video.
Yeah, that's what I would contribute. That was great. We angled it just right. We shot it out the window. It was perfect. Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Good.
Was it my bedroom window?
No, we did it in the living room.
In the living room. Okay, so it was shooting towards the back, not towards the street.
Yeah, it was shooting towards the back or
Oh, that is
towards
hilarious.
a tree. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's sick. Good one. We'll take your submission has been accepted, Saranga.
Amazing. Thanks, Kat.
All right, what's
And
the second
the last one
question?
is, if you had your own TV show, what's it called and what's it about?
Well, I definitely would make it a sitcom. It would have to be a sitcom because, I mean, what else would it be? And I'm trying to think of something catchy. Maybe like, I don't know, I'm looking at my wine. What if it was like Wine and Dine? And then it was a sitcom on like a rom-com. I have a lot of rom-com in my life, I feel like.
I can attest to that. You definitely do.
Yeah, lots of stories of love that you're like, how the hell did this even happen? Or like, what? So yeah, I think that would be the most entertaining. And I love talking about love, so it would work. It would work out really well. Wine and Dine. That's the name of the sitcom.
Wine and Dine. All right, we're gonna be on the lookout for Wine and Dine.
All right, I think it rolls off the tongue there.
Yeah. Oh,
You guys
amazing.
should create a love podcast. That would be fun for me. All right, so do
yeah.
I get to ask you one question before we sign out?
Yes,
Oh.
Awesome.
definitely.
All right,
So-
Fuku just gave the okay, so I guess.
Yeah, so I have this book of questions, and it's all virtual learning at school, so there's like a 5-minute passing period. Wow, there's fireworks going off. I'm sorry, but there's like a 5-minute
Bill's
passing
fan.
period for fitting for the girls when they come in. So I always ask them a question. This is the stack of cards. It's from my grandparents' assisted living place. It's meant for like old folks to kind of spark combo with each other. But tell me when to stop, and I'm gonna pick a card for you.
Okay. Stop.
All right. Oh, this one's okay. A time you spoke in front of a group.
Oh.
Last Monday,
What?
my art students.
Oh, you did.
Yeah, I have 2 art classes, but I think they're canceled for the next 3 weeks.
Oh yeah, you said that. You told me the other night. What about you, Saranga?
I guess maybe it was whenever the last time I did that apology for post for DEMOblank because we didn't record Max's podcast. I'm sorry.
Yeah. That was a funny post though. You're like, for everyone that is looking for this podcast that Max did, that was really great and long and vivid.
Yeah.
We didn't record it.
Just to check real quick. Hold on. We're good.
We recorded. Awesome.
We recorded this one. Amazing.
That's amazing. Well,
All
I
right.
do think you guys are awesome, and I appreciate you for asking me, and I'm honored.
No,
Honored to
Kat,
be
thank you
here.
so much. We love you. We appreciate you. Thank you so much for coming on and being our um second, but actually first guest. Um, no,
Oh,
seriously, thanks for making the time. I know it's like much later there than it is here, and yeah, thanks for just
yeah. Yeah, I love you guys
thanks for
too.
being you.
Should we hang up and have a phone call in secret? Nobody has to hear.
I can
Okay,
just stop recording.
perfect. All
What'd you
right,
say?
it's over. Fuku just stopped recording, so.
Oh,
Thank you guys so much for listening to today's episode with Kat Harrison. If you'd like to learn more about Kat and her work, please visit her website at katharrison.com or visit her on Instagram at It's a Paint Chip. Today's technical support was provided by Alex Fukuda, music by Dr. Doppler. And if you like today's episode, please rate, review, comment on whatever platform you heard this on, YouTube, Spotify, whatever. And if you'd like to learn more about the Duplex and DEMOblank, please visit us on Instagram, on our website, Twitch, and check out our Discord community if you'd like to discuss today's episode further. See you guys next week.